All right, gig workers. So let's address one of the questions that I get the most often, and that is, what is the best entity structure for me? And let's go all the way back to the beginning. Now, remember, when you first get started, you're typically operating under your social security number. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to show up on your Schedule C on your 1040. We talked about that a little bit. Go back and check out that short. So once you decide, okay, man, this thing is really taking off and you want to form some type of entity, you want to take into consideration two different things. What is the business that I'm going into, and is there risk involved? Do I need to protect myself from a liability standpoint? And then secondly, what are the tax benefits and consequences that I need to consider? So from a liability standpoint, there's hardly anything that I can say about that. Okay, that's more of a legal issue. But when it comes to tax savings and all of that, we can definitely get into that. So typically business owners go into an LLC situation, and what that does is that really just limits your liability. There is no tax benefit to having an LLC. And there's a big misconception that forming that LLC somehow creates this huge tax harbor for you and you're able to write off your entire life. That is not the case, guys. So it does protect you from a liability standpoint, but what it does is it does give you some legitimacy when you're working with others, okay? So it does help in that regard as well. One of the things that business owners really consider is the S Corp election. So that's where you basically take a form, you submit it, and now the IRS looks at you as an S corporation. You're still an LLC from a state filing standpoint, but now you're going to be taxed as an S corporation. So what does that do for you? Now, before you take that election, you're going to be subject to self-employment tax. So you're going to have 15.3% of your profit that is taxed on an annual basis whenever you file your tax return. Just right off the bat, 15.3 is going to be there on your profit. Okay, so take that into consideration. Think about that. Hold that in place. Once you take that S Corp election, now it removes that. But there are some requirements. Number one, you have to pay yourself reasonable compensation. Reasonable compensation is not just taking 50% of your profits and transferring it over. It's not taking 50% of your revenue and transferring it over. As a matter of fact, it's not a transfer at all. It's actually processing payroll. You are a W-2 employee. Now, you're still considered a disregarded entity, so that information still goes onto your individual tax return. However, you are no longer subject to that 15.3%. Also, there are filing requirements. Now you have an 1120S that has to get filed every year with the IRS, and that's typically the 15th day of the third month, which most of the time falls as March the 15th. Guys, we're going to talk about the C Corporation next, so stay tuned for that. We'll see you next time.